All right, you guys, 7.3. We're working on graphs still, so hopefully, let's review a little bit. 7.0 was on the different forms of quadratics and what you get from them. 7.1 was graphing. 7.2 was domain and range, I believe. Let's double check that. Yep. Okay, domain and range. And 7.3 now is we're going to just pick apart pieces of a graph. So now you're going to be expected to either graph an equation and then pick it apart, or I will give you an equation or give you the graph and you'll just have to pick it apart. So the things we're going to look for specifically in 7.3 are intercepts and positive and negative, okay? Intercepts just mean where it crosses anything, okay? And then positive and negative, this is mostly talking about the y values, okay? So the main thing, we're going to go through these individually, but those are the two main things you're looking at, okay? You're looking at where it crosses either axis and then whether the y values are positive or they're negative, okay? So the first one, you should have heard of this before, but just to review, an x-intercept is where it crosses your x-axis, okay? And when it crosses the x-axis, this is what we do. We plug 0 in for y and solve for x. Okay, and we're going to get points that say something, some number, 0. And then you can have multiple, you can have more than one x-intercept, okay? Y-intercepts are a little bit different. You will only have one, okay? But this is where it crosses your y-axis, and you do the opposite. You're going to plug 0 in for x, and you will get a number that says 0. That will be the point, and then some number. That's where it crosses the y-axis, okay? Positive. When I ask you to look at the graph and tell me where it's positive, you're going to use interval notation, okay? And that's what you used in 7.2 with the domain and range. Okay, that's our parentheses and brackets. But this is where it is above your x-axis. Okay, this means where is the graph positive? Okay, and then we've got negative. That's the opposite. Okay, it's below your x-axis. Okay, same thing, you use interval notation. Okay, and this wants to know what y values, or for what x's give me negative y's. Okay, so for both of these, the main thing I want you to understand is for both of these, okay, you use interval notation, okay, and you're just looking at the picture, okay, and you write your answer in interval, you write it like a little domain, okay, same with this guy, it's a little domain. So I will show you on these next couple of examples, okay, exactly what we're looking at. So the instructions say find the x-intercept, y-intercept, then sketch the graph. Determine where the function is positive and negative. So I'm going to do exactly what it tells me to do. So to find the x-intercepts, I go to my notes and it says plug 0 in for y and solve. So in order to solve, I'm going to change colors so we know what's going on. In order to solve, I'm going to go 0 equals 2x squared plus 4x minus 6. And if I need to solve this, I'm remembering from previous lessons that I'm going to have to factor. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the GCF out. And then I need to factor the inside, and I ask myself what multiplies to negative 3 and adds to 2. Well, that's 3 and 1, but the 1's going to be negative. So I get x plus 3, x minus 1. And then I take each of those and set them equal to 0. So that's my first x-intercept is at negative 3. And I get x equals 1. So my other one is at 1, 0. So I'm going to plot those, 1, 0, negative 3, 0. If I remember graphing these from 7.1, I know that this is a quadratic and it's going to be symmetric. Okay, so I'm going to have one way or the other, I'm going to have symmetric points. So that's my x-intercept. My y-intercept tells me to make x 0. Which means that y equals negative 6 because this cancels out and that cancels out. And so my point would be at 0, negative 6. So there's my point. And here's the cool thing. If I look at this, I'll have another point here because this will be my axis of symmetry. Okay. And then I've got a point right there, somewhere down here. Who knows? But this is my graph. Okay, that's my sketch. It's not exact, but that's my sketch. So when I go back through this, my x-intercepts were at negative 3, 0, and 1, 0. And my y-intercept was at 0, negative 6. And then it asked me when my graph is positive, okay, and when my graph is negative. So positive means above. So that means anything that's above my x-axis, I'm going to write little domains. Okay, and then negative means anything that's below. Okay, so when I look at that, my positive, okay, I am positive from here to here to here to here, okay? So I'm going to write, I have two sections, so I'm going to have two answers. So I'm positive from negative infinity to negative 3. That's that x value right there. And I'm also positive from 1, which is this x value right here, to infinity, okay? Where I'm negative is from the x value negative 3 to 1, okay? The cool thing about this is this will cover your whole or your entire domain. So it's kind of helpful. If you look, it goes from negative infinity to negative 3, negative 3 to 1, and 1 to infinity. I've covered everything. Okay, and that's how it should be with all your answers on all of these. It should cover the entire domain from negative infinity to infinity. Okay, here's the next example. Same thing. I'm going to find my x-intercepts. Okay, so how I do that is I take y and plug 0 in for it. So I get 0 equals 3x squared plus 6x. And I see that x squared, so I know I'm going to have to factor. So first step in factoring is to find a GCF if I can. And I get 0 equals 3x times x plus 2. This is already factored. I can't factor this inside anymore. So I take each factor and set it equal to 0. I get x equals 0. I get x equals negative 2. So my x-intercepts are at 0, 0, and negative 2, 0. Okay. My y-intercept is when I plug 0 in for x. And I get 0. So that's at 0, 0. Okay. So then I'm going to go graph those points. And I have a point at 0, 0. And I have a point at negative 2, 0. And then I'm going to have to reflect back on what I know. And I know that because this is positive, it's going to open up. So my sketch is just going to be like this. I just know that it opens up. I don't care about anything else except for whether it opens up or down. Okay? So now if I look at positive, this is positive to there, and it'll continue being positive that way. Okay, so my answer for that would be from negative infinity to 0, and from, oh wait, not that. Whoop, whoop. I lied. Negative infinity to negative 2, and from 0 to infinity. And the reason I'm using parentheses is because at these points, it is not above or below, it is on the line. So I can't use a bracket, okay? So I have to use parentheses. If I had a point that was just floating somewhere above, and that's where I started, then I could use a bracket. But on these ones, you'll mostly use parentheses. Okay, and where it's negative is in this little section right here. So it is negative from negative 2 to 0. And if I check, I cover the whole domain. I go negative infinity to negative 2, negative 2 to 0, and 0 to infinity. Okay, at any point in this video, it's okay to pause and maybe try it yourself. Okay, because it's going to be hard to do these if you just watch and go, okay, I get this, done, let's go. Okay, you're going to need to practice a little bit. Okay, example 3 is very similar to the ones that I just did, so I'm going to do it a little bit quicker. Okay, I'm going to go through the whole thing really quick, and then example 4, I give you a graph. So keep watching the video or skip ahead to when I go to example 4. So, but same thing, I'm going to find my x-intercept, so I set it equal to 0. I get x squared plus 8x plus 15, and I've got to factor this, and it factors into x plus 3 and x plus 5, because 3 times 5 is 15 and 3 plus 5 is 8. I take each factor and set it equal to 0. And I get at negative 3 and at negative 5. Okay, I know it opens up, and if I remember, if I take x and set it equal to 0, I'm going to get 15, because those zeros are going to cancel. So it is at not like that, because it's a y value, 0, 15. So that's like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's like way up here. And then I have the points negative 3 and negative 5. So this graph, I know it opens up because this is positive. Okay, and then I'm looking, and for positive, I get all this to here, and then this in this direction. So my positive answer would be from negative infinity to negative 5, as well as negative 3 to infinity, because those are my little domains. And then it's negative from negative 5 to negative 3, and that covers my entire domain. This part's the negative part. Negative infinity to negative 5, negative 5 to negative 3, and negative 3 to infinity. Okay, this last one's way easier. We just have to look at it. Okay, so what we're doing is we need to find the x-intercepts. That's where it crosses. So it crosses at negative 1 and at positive 3. And then my y-intercept is at 0, negative 2. And then I'm going to look, and where it's positive from here to there, and then from here to there. So I'm going to have 2 sections for positive. Okay. And then it's negative from here to here. So my answer for positive would be from negative infinity to negative 1, and that's what the u means, and from 3 to infinity, and then it's negative from negative 1 to 3. Okay? Good luck. You got this. Let me know if you need my help.